Now back to the campaign trail ahead of the first GOP presidential debate here on Fox in just a few weeks. For how the Hunter Biden investigation may impact the president's re-election bid, let's bring in today's political panel. Joining me today is Maura Gillespie, the Bluestack Strategies founder and principal, and Brad Howard, a Democratic strategist. Welcome to both of you.
Thanks for having us.
So let's start with former President Trump on the campaign trail in South Carolina last night.
Isn't it terrible that a political opponent, though, can haphazardly charge you with a fake crime in the middle of your campaign in order to interfere with your time, your money, your message, and there is nothing you can do in theory to stop this travesty of justice?
I know you don't agree with him, Brad, but is that an effective argument with his base?
Well, no, because it's not based in reality. A grand jury brought forth these charges, not an individual, not a president, and not even a prosecutor. He certainly led the case, the argument for it. But at the end of the day, average Americans sitting on a grand jury decided there was enough evidence to move forward with the trial, and that's what's going to happen. The president's problem is he's got a trial in D.C., in New York, and in Florida, and now maybe one coming in Georgia. That is certainly not a good place to be heading into a presidential election.
Former Vice President Mike Pence has taken a tougher tone in recent days. Let's play him.
What the president was convinced, it seemed to me in December, was that I had some right to reject or return electoral votes, even though no vice president in American history had ever asserted that. They were asking me to overturn the election.
Is that effective for Pence, Maura, and what's the impact?
Not sure if it's effective, but it's certainly necessary. Vice President Pence needs to stand up and talk about what he saw firsthand, what he dealt with firsthand, because that's where we're really going to get the information that only a few people have. So voters do need to listen to him. I think it's interesting, as you saw former President Donald Trump on Truth Social condemning Pence. And again, these are Republicans speaking out about what the former president did. So I do hope it would be more effective, but I think, if nothing else, it's necessary.
Former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie says it isn't all about Trump. Let's play him.
If Donald Trump's the nominee, he'll be talking about Donald Trump rather than Joe Biden. And what we should be focused on is talking about Joe Biden and his record, and that's why he cannot be the nominee.
What about that argument, Brad?
Well, I think Chris Christie's got a good point. The problem is, no matter what we try, the media coverage is about Donald Trump. He's excellent at garnering media coverage. He wants to dominate the headlines. He's announcing these indictments before the courts are. So he's controlling the narrative. And as long as he keeps doing that, he's going to be the front runner for the Republican nomination. I think the President Biden, his strongest case is to make the case that the economy is bouncing back. Inflation's at a 2-year low. Unemployment's at an historic low. We're seeing infrastructure projects around the country thanks to the bipartisan infrastructure law. Bidenomics is working, and I think they're smart to focus on that. Not to mention, abortion is going to be a huge issue in this election with voters all across the country. Democrats have done 10 points better than they have done previously in every special election since the Dobbs decision. So that's a 10-point bump we're seeing across the country. Now, given special elections are quirky, but I do think that issue is going to motivate the Democratic base. If Trump is the nominee, it's going to motivate, our base is going to be even more motivated. Then swing voters are going to look to issues like choice in the economy, and I think they're going to side with Democrats. I think we're going to have a great night next November.
Assuming the former president's on the debate stage August 23rd here on Fox, Maura, how aggressive do you expect the other Republicans to be with him to try to have a moment?
I expect them to be pretty aggressive, especially given these mounting indictments. Now, if you're looking at this as through a Republican lens, the first indictment in New York was objectively, not a great start and sets the wrong tone because it does look political. And unfortunately, because these two indictments that followed, the court case in Florida with the classified documents and this indictment by Jack Smith, they're huge. They're monumental. They have implications not only for our democracy, but for the future of this country. And I think people really need to be honing in on that. And the candidates on that stage need to be reminding the American people what's at stake.
In reference to that debate, so far, 7 candidates have qualified, 2 partially qualified. They're the 7 who are in for sure. The 2 partially qualified, former Vice President Mike Pence and former Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson. Brad, what are your expectations going into that first Republican debate?
Well, look, my home state is Arkansas. Asa was a great governor for the state of Arkansas. I think he's going to be impressive on the debate stage when he gets able to get there and make his case. But I think you're going to see it's not a real debate until Donald Trump shows up and participates in it. We've got to see these candidates interact. People have to hold him accountable in real time for this race to kind of dramatically change in terms of dynamics. But I will say more broadly, with all the legal case issues around Donald Trump, with the legal cases surrounding the Biden family, this is probably the most litigious campaign in history with so many X factors. And as someone who's run campaigns before, I can tell you, no manager likes to, or no candidate likes to put so much stock into all these X factors that they cannot control. So we're looking at one of the most unpredictable presidential races probably in our lifetimes.
Maura, for those candidates who can't qualify for the debate stage, does that signal pretty much the end of the road for them, or do they continue on and hope for better things ahead?
I think it's a pretty telling set of circumstances if they don't make the debate stage. But I think for some of them, they're really making a mark here. The fact that we have 10, 11 people running against Donald Trump, a former president, is huge. And I think for voters, they need to really look at that. They were willing to stand up and run against Donald Trump because they don't believe that he is the right next choice. And so for people who are looking at bona fide conservatives who are up there on that stage, pay attention, listen to them, and listen to the differences that they have against a former president who is under intense legal battles, and that's his main focus. Not on the people, yeah.
He has a big lead in the polling right now, but it's very early in the race. We'll see where it goes from there. Brad Howard, Maura Gillespie, thanks so much for your time.